Minded podcast powered by the CDA Paris edition, presented by maison&objet and Paris Design Week.
Mr. Frederick, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
It's good to see you.
Thank you, thank you.
What a wonderful exhibition you have downstairs on the first floor.
Yeah, worked hard for it, so thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about how the whole thing came about?
The whole thing came about, it's a large question, or it's going to be a large answer, because I'm working with Carpenters Workshop for almost 12 years.
Okay.
And we started to develop pieces year by year, and then after all these, like almost a decade, we thought it was time to make a resume, a kind of a 3D resume, as I call it, an atlas, of all I've done in the past. So many projects, like it's been a roller coaster. So to curate this show with all the pieces you see, it was a big job. Like all over was a 3-year production time.
Wow.
And the last year was very intense, because then everything gets to details. Like there's almost 40 pieces presented in the show, and it's something I couldn't sleep off for a year. It's like so intense, and even now my current coach, he talks to me about how I move, how I breathe, and I still need to get back to normal, because when I do something, it's like 110%, 24 hours a day. So yeah.
Tell me a little bit about this relationship, because it's a very curious dynamic between an artist and a gallery.
Yeah.
You said you had many conversations in the last few years, and you decided to do this big exhibition, bringing all your work from the last 15, 20 years now.
I started working, my studio opened in 2005.
Yes.
And the Carpenters Collaboration started like 2010. So it's like,
yeah. It's been definitely like a long relationship for the time being. So how that relationship goes about, the first introduction, how you get to know the gallery, Julian or anybody else from the gallery, and how that transformed to what it is today?
It's actually quite simple. I mean, it's of course the gallery. It starts with Louis and Julien. Like they're two French people. They are friends from their youth, and they are both having a past into arts and design. For many long time, they started to open their gallery, and they wanted to do it in their different way. And I came on their path for the first time in Milano in 2009. And then there was a certain magic and mix of what I did, what they did, and you need this. I mean, we're not the same persons, not at all. I mean, we also bump into each other sometimes, and that's necessary to fine tune what the right decision is or the right step is, but you need a mix of people to get to this collaboration, to make all these pieces and works. Like we do a lot of works on commission base for a lot of architects all over the world, and it's going, it's a very positive, happy collaboration where we are very free in what we can make, and it's sometimes unbelievable that we make so many of these pieces that you see around you here. Yeah.
Now, you self-describe as a landscape sculptor.
Yeah, that's a word which we made up.
No, I understand. So tell me how this whole thing started.
Yeah, so one day we sat down together, and people, they always ask you this question: are you an artist? Are you a designer? Are you a philosopher, a writer, photographer? I mean, every creative gets this question. I mean, that's an inevitable thing, that when people see you, they want to know who's behind the work, why you do the work, what's your originate, where you come from. And then I came up with the word landscape sculptor, because it's a kind of the mix of the things I do. I started as a public space researcher.
Okay.
I started in Design Academy Eindhoven, a department which was called Man and Public Space, and all we did was do research in the public space. So we would go for work weeks on cemeteries in Europe. We would climb mountain landscapes. We would go sit in Amsterdam making pictures day in, day out on the same spot. It was very about researching people and their movement within the public space. So everything that hits that subject, we would learn, we would adapt, we would see. So in this period of my academy, I hardly made any objects. So it was all about making books, drawings. Sometimes there was this moment that we hit as kind of design element, but mostly it was really about finding a reason why are we here, why are we doing what we're doing, and that's something I still do every day. That's what I did before I came here. It's like walking around Paris, taking pictures, seeing people, and these things starts flowing on my head, and then on one day, like boom, I feel the urge to make something that connects to this mix of thoughts.
Do you have a process to organize all those thoughts? I feel a lot of times creative people get overwhelmed by ideas and they get so excited, but at one point you have to really make those things.
I have a very organized mess. So actually this week I had critical talks with two people of my staff about how I operate within the studio and how I can improve, and one of the subjects that comes up every time is the amount of pictures, stuff I collect. We have over 5,000 square meter building with materials, books, mock-ups, things I find. I love. I'm not a materialist in that I need things, because I could live with nothing. But I do love objects. I do love materials. I really, I can sit on the couch with a book, not even opening it, and just loving it. I mean, I have multiple books in my collection which are still in the plastic wrap. So yeah, so it's a very organized mess everywhere, in my head, in the way I talk, in the way I run my life with my wife, my cat, and my twins, and I live and work in the same building. It's beautiful and intense and dreamy, and I think all I ever wished for. Yeah.
Now I'm interested. So you said you have twins,
Isaac and Rivka.
How old are they?
2.5 years old. Yeah.
Okay, so you're in the thick of it. I'm sorry about that.
We have a therapist of sleeping coach. Since 2 weeks. So my eyes are more open than before.
I remember those days. But you also have an interesting background, because you grew up around manufacturing, and your parents were involved in it as well. So it seems like your kids are also growing up in the same environment.
It's crazy. As I even I have a logo. An iron logo on my door from my family factories that produced scales for a few hundred years. So I was born next to this factory in Breda, where they produced huge iron scales for trucks, but also for babies. So it was a very large enterprise. My grandfather used to drive around with his motorcycle in Holland and Europe to sell, and was a very undertaking person. And sadly, just after my birth, my dad left my mom. It was a very tough time for my mom, and also afterwards in my life was very intense. And this seeing my dad going downhill in his life also made me insecure in my youth. But in the end, it kind of worked in my brain as a going to the fifth one in the car. I mean, and then
fifth gear, like
the fifth gear,
stopping.
Like I was like around my 25th years old. I was like, bam. Also, my older brother woke me up a bit. He said, "Come on, show the world what you're doing." But it really is a proof that your growing up is a very important thing, and for me also it's the biggest and saddest lesson I had in my life. And now looking ahead to the future with my twins, I'm constantly reflecting to myself, to my youth, to how to incorporate their lives. Even my wife, Esther Stam, she's an interior architect. She also runs her own business in Amsterdam City, so we're both very, it's a madhouse.
Very hands-on.
Very hands-on, yeah.
Now you mentioned at 25 you decided to kind of go all the way and show the world where you were about. But do you know what you were about back then, or you're just kind of still trying to figure it out?
I was very aware of my creativity.
Okay.
I was not always acknowledged by people, but I always felt that, because my real dad, which was mostly absent in my life, I knew a few things from him, that he was very creative. Like I remember a few vague thoughts from my very early youth, where we were making faces in these big white plaster blocks, that you use to make quick walls. And all these things that I saw him doing never left my mind, and that probably has a very, very easy reason.
Yeah.
And also my older brother, I saw him during high school. He was very creative, making a lot of art pieces, and so I always felt that I grew up as an artist. And then I started to go to Design Academy Eindhoven, where I was more trained to a researcher. So yeah, it goes up and down, and now I'm heading more back to this pure artism, being an artist or being a maker or a sculptor. And I see all these things as very fluid, and the most important thing for me is to be always emotional in balance. But with whatever I do, whoever I work with, I want that to be good. Yeah. You know, that's like prior to the object.
I'll ask a personal question, and you feel free to not answer. But it's your father still around?
He's still around, not really daily. I see him once a year, and he was.
So he has seen what you became. Like
my brother brought him the book of the exhibition.
Okay.
I didn't see him for 2 years now, but my father is a very special person, wonderful human being, but never really had a chance to have his own life. He also became homeless for a while, and then. Yeah, I mean, I can tell a lot about him, but maybe that's a different interview.
Yes. I'm just wondering because a lot of times we see things at full circle. You know, he been able to see what kind of an artist you become, what kind of person you become, and what kind of father you were becoming as well as you go. You know, it's all that kind of the process of being an artist and how you use those experiences to.
Sometimes, but this is a strange thing to say. But sometimes I feel partly I live his life a bit. I also feel I work sometimes.
You're fulfilling.
I've worked twice as hard in a way also to maybe show things he could have done, or maybe it will never be the same as I did. But I know when I see him sometimes, it's like, you know, it's like a mirror. He has the same body, the same speed of talking, the same loudness, the same, you know, it's like same monobrow. I mean, it's like that's always very. When I drive back home, it sticks in my head for more than an hour, like, you know, to get back to my own identity, and it's
Well, now you have this wonderful exhibition here for a few more weeks in Paris. And now it's Paris Design Week, so a lot of people are going to come by, see it. Are you looking forward to go around and see some exhibitions and shows?
This morning I did my tour. I took Polaroids, but I went to a street where they show African masks, and I went to a gallery which was like amazing place where they have old kayaks from Greenland, like a few hundred years old.
Wow, like native kayaks from the region.
With like bone decoration and like animal skins around it. It was very special. So that was my morning inspiration. And the rest, I think I mainly will spend my days in this gallery here. As for me, this place is my home in Paris, and I really want to be amongst the works we work so hard for, and I want people to inform them and to show them the energy I have, and to give them a part of this energy that's also. Yeah, that you can feel also in the works, and also the difficult thing is about my work. It's as I have a very strong form language, but some projects can look very different from one another. But the way I reach to the designs is the same. So, and I feel sometimes I need to explain this to the visitor. So, my goal will be to be stationed here for a few days.
And enjoying the heat in Paris.
Yeah.
My goodness, it's hot.
Yeah, it's hot. Yeah, but it's always inside cities. I mean, it's concrete everywhere.
Now the exhibition will end in a few weeks, and after that, after working on this for so many years, what are you looking forward to? What are the next things you're working on?
The next, I mean, my health. It's a very big issue for me already in my life. Of course, my twins, my wife, and the company to get back on our feet after this intense production time for the show. And I really feel like going to Shanghai for some reason. I went there like 2003 when I worked for Siemens Mobile in Munich, and they sent me to Shanghai for public space research, and I really want to go back there, sit in a hotel room for 1 week, stroll the city, collect things, and kind of make a 3D collage in this hotel room. And with the beautiful Instagram these days, I also can share this directly. So I really feel to do this. And there's another thing that I'm working on a new building in which I'm trying to create large sculptures, like large outdoor sculptures.
Okay. The landscape part.
So I really try to blow things up, but also I'm doing research to get this more into the digital world, into like online, and I'm also searching for more participation within the works we do with everyone in the world. So I'm trying to get this maybe a bit utopian plan on the table, and also very much interested in game design. So it's like it's for me now a time to really dive into deep and to see how we can move from solid bronze, which I will probably never leave behind me, but I think there are so much more things where I can explore my creative work. So I'm very open to anything, basically.
So in the digital, we're talking about augmented reality, metaverse.
Actually, I would love to create a game.
Okay, are you a gamer?
I'm starting to be a gamer. I did it when I was little.
Okay.
It's dangerous because I was sucked into it.
I know.
But as I feel that, of course, everything I make needs shipment, needs materials, needs everything. So we downstairs we have a whole series of wooden objects which are made from recycled railway sleepers. So we try to also find different materials that we can reuse, but within the digital design, I mean that's a whole world. Of course, you need like a database. You need to chip into all these Google boxes where you need to store your gigabytes. But within this world, you can make something, and the sharing is so much quicker. So I think this is. I don't think I will succeed because it's not my métier, it's not my game. But if you ask me what I'm dreaming of now, then this is the real answer. Yeah.
But that's the interesting part of it, because you have put a lot of thought into it. You have put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah. It's in my head for some time.
Quite a bit, and I find it very interesting because a lot of times when we work in sculptures and design, they're very much obsessed with the idea of the physical material, right? The touching, the feeling, the sitting, and you're like, I'm open to the whole experience, taking everything online.
Yeah, but we'll also have this. I mean, the building that we're trying to buy now will also have the sculptures in real on that place.
I see.
But we'll not move physically to the other side of the world, but we'll move digitally.
So people will be able to experience the building.
So it's the mix. So I don't want to lose the tactility, but I think it's. I think that's the research I'm trying to have. Yeah.
I want to ask you a couple questions, and it's going to be like very casual, this or that, or a couple opinions and a few things.
Yes, please.
And you let me know, what do you think about this? All right. A person who you like to trade places with for a day.
You should have texted me this last night.
I just came up with that like 10 minutes ago.
Oh, that's very complicated. I mean, there probably will be a few artists.
Okay.
Living and artists that passed away, but I'm obsessed with Alexander Calder. Erwin Wurm is a person who became a friend since this year. He's an Austrian artist, very very well known. But there are more persons.
But what about them? Do you want like their talent, their lifestyle? What are the
it's somehow from Alexander Calder, for instance, I collect already for like 20 years all his little catalogs from shows he have, and when I look through them, I go through history, I go to development, and for me it's a lesson to see how someone evolves, and also to see that not every thing you do or every art you make needs to be the new next best thing. You know, some of the arts that you make, you are basically working like a monk. I mean, you're doing the same thing over and over again, but every time there's a different move, a different angle, a different thing you experienced the day before. Why there's a certain change in the design, so I think that's why I look at these artists and. But also some filmmakers. I mean, that's also an interest. But let's keep it to those two.
We will get in the film later. Trust me. A guilty pleasure.
A guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
I mean, I have so many.
Well, let's start lining them up.
A guilty pleasure. I mean, having Friday nights of sushi with my girl is the best guilty pleasure. I mean, we both enjoy this a lot. Campari Spritz, I love.
Yeah.
Watching movies all weekend, I love. Yeah.
Those are nice.
Simple things, but very important.
Yeah. The best compliment you ever got?
The one that pops in my mind, the first thing was like when we produced the first city light anamorphosis for the Carpenters show. There was a journalist saying it could be part of a Tim Burton movie, which I felt was very cool, because I love Tim Burton movies, and this was like, wow, okay, so that's like when someone else sees my work and started to make new connections with this, I think the work is succeeded, because then it starts growing in someone else's heads.
Absolutely.
And people make new connections with them, and I think, yeah.
Was that something that you ever considered, or was this the first time you hear somebody making the connection and it kind of click for you, like, yeah, it kind of does?
After I heard so many different people saying so many different things, but this was like the one that really felt like, wow, in the beginning was like, cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Something you wish you were better at?
Staying healthy. I mean, that's it's very complex for me to work this hard, to maintain my sports schedules, my sleeping. I mean, it's for me, creating is letting go of everything and absorbing everything I see, including going out, drinking, having food. I'm great at going to restaurants. So yeah, and this also is part of my family, my upbringing. I mean, we're very Burgundies in this life.
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting aspect, because it clearly you're someone who invests, as you mentioned earlier, 110% in everything you do.
Yeah.
Right? How discipline works for you? Are you as someone have been able to incorporate discipline in your life, or when you're talking about your creativity, when you're talking about, because you're not only a creative person, you have a business. So there's multiple layers of things you need to be responsible over here, like hiring, being on time, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
How do you find a way to manage that, having a personality who's so much invested and everything is so close to the chest?
Again, the last part.
I mean, how do you manage to balance the both sides?
That's one of my lucky things. I mean, from both sides, I come from very entrepreneurial, large families. So every Christmas or New Year's events we have very large families. It would always be about exchanging company details. As a little kid, I run around in factories. I see processes of close by, and so yeah, I think that's in my genes.
Are you
trading or buying and selling? And I used also to work at a bakery. I mean, everything I see within the business also interests me. I like everything that runs the economy. I think it's a very nice thing to interact with it.
So do you bake?
Little.
What would it be like?
I bake wax objects, not breads. Yeah.
Something not to eat.
Not to eat, but I call it always baking. I mean, I always see our studio and the employees as bakers. We walk around with plates, with objects. It's very carefully. Need
some ingredients together.
Yeah, we need to melt them. They need to rise. They need to go to the foundry. They go in blocks. I mean, it's you could see it as a food production hall also. Yeah.
Well, before we end today, there's 3 questions I ask every single one that comes to the podcast. And one is a book they would recommend us to read, a film. I told you we were going to get there. And who should we invite to be here at the show as a next guest?
I think to invite Erwin Wurm is, I think, very interesting. I learned a lot from him. He's very interesting to meet and to see, and also to learn about his work. He really communicates about his work in a way that is very natural. It's that it almost already existed before he made it. So it's I think you should invite him.
Yeah.
He also did collaboration with Carpenters years ago, so there is a connection. My favorite movie, you really want to know?
Yeah.
It's nothing very complicated.
I hope so.
So the movie I watched maybe 2,000 times, and I still put them on when I need some emotional rest, is As Good as It Gets. With Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
It's very it's maybe also a guilty pleasure, but for me it's a reflection of my personality, of my youth, partly my father's life, the art. It's also the behavior of Jack Nicholson as a bit neurotic person. It's also partly seeing myself in the mirror.
How old were you the first time you watched it?
But that's probably 18, 19, something. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Young man making a lot of impression in the world, or something like this.
Yeah, but I mean, it's many movies, but this movie kind of also because of I love Jack Nicholson. It was kind of the mix of everything. It was quite a soft movie with his hard person, being soft and hard. That's like also how I am. I can be very hard but very soft at the same time, and it's like it's a great movie for me. I mean, and everyone has a different connection to a movie. I mean, yes. Every movie can have a different message for you or for me. Yeah. Book-wise, I have many books, but I think there's one illustrated novel which is called Little Nemo. I bought it like 20 years ago. It was a unique edition, and I think it was published in the Sunday Times in somewhere in 1910 or something, and it was a huge full-color comic story of a boy called Nemo, and he would go to bed, fall asleep, have dreams, and these illustrations are very magical. It's like this book I hardly dare to open up because I want to save it for my whole life. It has so many small, clever ideas in it, and how he dreams, how mushrooms grow super large, how people go super little, how butterflies become airplanes. I mean, how total architectural situations turn upside down and he just walks in it like it's normal. I mean, this book is very, I think it's inspiration for everyone actually, within every creative field, if it's fashion, art or architecture. I mean, this I would recommend. Little Nemo.
Little Nemo, so here we are.
Yeah.
Frank, thanks so much for taking the time. I want to go ahead and say thank you to Julian and other folks here at the Carpenters Workshop to kind of let us come in and do this.
Yeah.
Wonderful exhibition downstairs.
Thank you.
Wishing nothing but the best. Good luck. Sleep training the kids.
And thank you for your comfortable talk. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Well, the goal is to just casually get to know each other a little bit more and have a fun conversation about life.
Yeah.
Not only design, not only art, but
the
beauty of life.
Love
Cheers.
it. Thank you. Good luck.
All right. Appreciate it.
Submissions for the Creator Design Awards are now open. Visit creatordesignawards.com to find out more.
Experience the world of art, design, and culture through Minded Podcast. Engage with groundbreaking artists, visionary designers, and cultural influencers and delve into their creative processes. Minded Podcast, powered by the CDA. New episodes every Tuesday.